Hello everyone, welcome to Mathematical Method Unit 1. This video we will focus on 4b. The learning intention is to sketch the graph of Truncus. Okay, Truncus is the graph of y equal to 1 over x squared. The successful criteria of today is I know the basic shape of the Truncus, and I know how to identify the asymptote of different Truncus. And lastly, I know the rule for Truncus is y equal to a over x minus h to the power of 2 plus k. And we also need to know the value of a could reflect the graph of Truncus. Okay, so this video we're going to talk about these three successful criteria one by one. So first of all, the first successful criteria, I know the basic shape of Truncus. Okay, so now let's come back to our booklet. Truncus is, we know, as I said earlier, Truncus is the graph of y equal to 1 over x squared. Okay, so now the graph of this equation is over here. So this type of graph is called Truncus. All right, as you can see from over here, there are two curves on the first quadrant and second quadrant, and they are symmetrical against the y-axis in the middle. Okay, so they are symmetrical against the y-axis. The reason is because y equal to 1 over x, because that square over here. For example, if I have a negative x equal to negative 1, and I also have another one, x is equal to 1. So both of them are 1, but one is negative, one is positive. But after you squared either negative or 1, negative 1 or 1, after you square them, you will get the same value of y, which is 1. Okay, so that's why for each of the positive and negative number, when you square it, you will still get the same number for y. That's why you will have you have the two curves that is symmetrical against y. One of the curve is on the first quadrant, and the curve is on the second quadrant. All right, so this shape, you need to be very familiar with the shape of Truncus. All right, so which is two curves on first and second quadrant and approaching x and y axis. Both this graph will have asymptote y equal to 0. Okay, so this is y equal to 0, and you'll have another asymptote, which is x equal to 0, and this is y equal to 0. All right, so if you have a look about our third successful criteria, I know the rule for Truncus. Okay, so let me write it on your booklet. Y equal to a over x minus h to the power of 2 plus k. Okay, now so your h and k, x is equal to h, that will be your vertical axis, and y equal to k, that will be your horizontal axis. Okay, I also read this over here on your notes on the right hand side over here. Okay, so now let's do example 3 on your booklet. You have y equal to negative 1 over 2 times x plus 3 to the power of 2 minus 4. Okay, so now you could say the value of a over here for the equation given by example 3, which is negative 1 over 2. Okay, so a will be equal to negative 1 over 2. We will talk about it later. And then because h it is x minus h. So when you're trying to identify the value of h, you need to rearrange your equation to make them similar with your general form of the truncus. Okay, so that's going to be written as -1 over 2 x minus 3 to the power of 2 minus 4. Okay, so in this way, I would know that h over here will be my -3 and k will be my -4. Okay, so now we can write this down. So h will be equal to x will be equal to h, which is equal to -3. That gonna be my vertical asymptote. Okay, sorry, this should be asymptote. And oops. Okay, so then in the same way, y will be equal to k, and as we identified, y equal to k equal to -4. That'll give me my horizontal asymptote. Okay, so now we can draw that on the graph. Alright, so that will be my x-axis. Now let me draw a y-axis. So x and y. Okay, so now I know x is equal to -3. So 1, 2, 3. X is equal to -3. Vertical asymptote. -9. And label it. X is equal to -3. Alright, and also horizontal asymptote. Y equal to -4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's y equal to -4. Okay, so this is your second successful criteria, how you identify the vertical and horizontal asymptote. Okay, so make sure here that your equation that is negative, all right, before you identify the value of h especially. So now coming back step 2, okay, have a look about the right hand side of the notes. Step 2 over here, determine. Okay, so that's determine the reflection of the graph based on the value of a. Okay, so over here we know a basic truncus. You have two curves on the first quadrant and the second quadrant. That is the case when a is larger than 0. When a is smaller than 0, your graph gonna be reflect in the x-axis. Okay, so they're gonna go to the third and fourth and quadrant. Okay, so the graph is reflected in the axis, in the x-axis. All right, so now we know a is equal to -1 over 2. Okay, so that is smaller than 0. Negative. That means my graph is reflected into your third and fourth quadrant. Okay, so now have a look about your graph. So based on your two asymptote, the horizontal asymptote and y vertical asymptote. Okay, so now here is your first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, and fourth quadrant. Okay, so and we know your graph, because the value of a is smaller than 0, it's negative, so it is reflected to the third. Okay, let me use a different color. Third quadrant. Alright. And fourth quadrant. But that is in regards to your asymptote, not x and y axis anymore. Okay, so that is your truncus. Now, your step 3, because we need to identify here is one y axis, y intercept. Okay, and x-intercept we can tell that this two red curve doesn't intersect with your x-axis, so there's no point to find the x-intercept. So now step 3, we only need to find y-intercept. Okay, so to find y-intercept, okay, so let me write it down. To find y-intercept, we let x equal to 0. Okay, so now we let x equal to 0, and we know y is equal to -1/2 times, now x is equal to 0 plus 3 to the power of 2 minus 4. Now if you simplify, you will get it is equal to -73 over 18. Make it decimal, it will be roughly equal to -4 point something. Alright, so now so that you can label, and now I know my y-intercept will be x is equal to 0, y is equal to -73 over 18. Okay, and then now you can label this y-intercept, and will be 0, -73 over 18. Right, and then so you have finished this truncus. Okay, so coming back to our note on the right hand side, so you will know, first of all, successful criteria, the basic shape of the truncus is two curves on the first quadrant and second quadrant. Okay, and you also need to know how to identify the asymptote, okay, which is your h and k. Alright, and then another one that you need to know is the value of a. Okay, when a is coming, look at over here, step 2, when a is larger than 0, it is positive, so you will have a general shape of the quadrant which is on the first and second quadrant. But if you have a value of negative value of a, then that's going to reflect your graph in the x-axis. Okay, so that will come to the third and fourth quadrant. Okay, so that's some of those translation for your when you sketching your truncus. All right, so this is all for 4B. If you have any question, please feel free to ask me in the class. Alright.